Good morning from the Hawaiian Eye Conference at the Big Island of Hawaii. We're pleased to be here this morning with Dr. Ken Beckman from Columbus, Ohio, also one of our ASCRS Cornea Clinical Committee members. Thanks a lot, Ken, for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Ken, I'd like to speak with you this morning about collagen crosslinking. I know that you have quite extensive experience in providing crosslinking from the early stages, from the epi-off stages, but I understand now that you're also beginning to study epi-on crosslinking. What is the difference between them, and why is it something that's important for us to study?
Oh, it's a good question. So traditional crosslinking, which is approved by the FDA, as most of us know, is epi-off, or removal of the epithelium. The traditional protocol involves removing the epithelium, treating the patient with riboflavin drops for 30 minutes, followed by ultraviolet light for 30 minutes. This leads to the formation of the bonds within the cornea, the crosslinks that stiffen the cornea, to hopefully stop progression, and additionally may give increased flattening. This method we know works. It's been available internationally for many years, and it's been available in the US for a couple of years. There are potential drawbacks with epi-on, or epi-off, excuse me. While it works really well, you are creating an epithelial defect. So obviously all the risks of a corneal abrasion are there, meaning patient discomfort, the risk for infection, and delayed wound healing, which can lead to scarring and haze. So if there were a way to preserve the epithelium, obviously that could be potentially advantageous.
So Ken, I know that preserving the epithelium is a very important concept, but we also know that there are some challenges with the agents, the pharmaceuticals, penetrating the epithelium in order to get to the stroma. How are you able to work around that?
Well, it's also a good question. There are several components that we need to get crosslinking to work. The drug has to get in, the light has to get in, and you need oxygen to get in. So the epithelium theoretically is a barrier to all of this. So the first thing Avedro did, we are now conducting a phase 3 epi-on trial, and they've made several adjustments to the protocol. One is they've changed the formulation of the riboflavin. Penetrates the epithelium much better, and it seems to work seems to penetrate really well. The second thing they've done is provide supplemental oxygen. Right now, when the light is shining and the reaction's going on, oxygen gets depleted, and we don't know how much oxygen is even getting through the epithelium. So the patient is provided an oxygen mask with oxygen constantly being flowing, and theoretically this will increase the availability. There was some data that they presented at a recent meeting earlier this year that showed that patients with supplemental oxygen had better results. So that's the second thing they've done. The third thing is the light itself is now being pulsed. So instead of a constant beam, it's having approximately 1 second on, 1 second off. So during that period when the light's off, it gives oxygen a chance to reaccumulate. So theoretically, the combination of all of these may make up for the fact that epithelium is still there.
That's a really great point. I know that, Ken, you've started on a clinical trial evaluating the epi-on crosslinking procedure. Can you describe a little bit about the outcomes of the trial and what some things you're looking to measure?
Well, I don't have clinical data yet that I can discuss, but we're looking for the same things that we typically look at in these studies: changes in Kmax, stopping progression or getting flattening. To be in the trial, the patient had to show progression in the first place. So they had to, in the previous 18 months, show either an increase of 1 diopter in their Kmax, or 1 diopter in their total cylinder on refraction, or a half a diopter of a myopic shift. If they showed that amount of progression, then they're eligible for treatment. And we're just going to follow all those parameters long term.
Well, this sounds really exciting. I'm really pleased to know that the epi-on trials are going forward and that you're giving us a great construction of how those trials are going to work. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.